Hi, my name is Erin Cullen. I know you guys have seen me around lately, kind of wondering what I'm doing, asking questions. Mainly the point that I'm here today is I want to teach you about disaster preparedness. I want this home to be as safe as possible if a disaster is to occur. I want you to know where to go, who to contact, what supplies to have with you, and where your best resources are going to be found. A couple things we want to talk about today is what is a disaster to begin with. A disaster is anything that causes loss of life or excessive damage. So it could be anything like a tornado, fire, hurricane, things of that nature. They can either be man-made, so like it could be an explosion at a refinery, or it's natural, which is like more like a hurricane or a tornado. Ultimately, I want to make sure that you guys are prepared. I know that there is some sort of a disaster plan in place already, but I want to tweak it just a little bit, give you some ideas about other things that might be available for you. As you well know, this DDSO home's entire population has significant medical history. Part of what I need you to be aware of is in a disaster, you need to be prepared as far as your medications, your supplies, any treatments that you may need, any wound care you may need. Those sorts of things kind of need to be in one place. So the next thing we're going to talk about is a disaster preparedness bag. A couple things. I'm going to have a disaster preparedness kit put together by your staff that will have certain items in it that will help everybody in the home. Kind of broad things like oxygen tanks and batteries and extra food, perishable food items, things such as that nature. Some things that I want each individual, and what we're going to do after we get done with this part, we'll kind of do an activity, and me and the staff are going to help you go to your rooms and kind of find what you need. We've got bags for you, and then we'll get it all together and put it in a safe place for you. So some things that I want you to think about when you're talking about this bag is individual items for just you, just what you need. So any medications that you may have. I would like to have at least 2 or 3 days worth of medications on hand at all time for all patients. Everybody should have that in their bag in case of an emergency. If you're going to have to evacuate, you don't know where you may end up. So it's a good idea to have just a couple of days worth of medications. Another thing would be respiratory supplies, oxygen, like your nasal cannula. Most resources outside of the community are going to have oxygen available for you, but they may or may not have nasal cannulas, which is the one that goes in your nose that hooks to your oxygen machine. Those I would really appreciate if everybody had one in their bags. Another thing I want you to think about is extra batteries, your glucometers. I know some of you are diabetics, so you guys, I would like to make sure that you have a glucometer with you. It would not be a bad idea for like wound dressings. I know there's 2 of you that have significant wounds at this time. I want to get those dressing supplies together and at least get enough for 1 dressing change. Another thing that I would like everybody to think about is an extra change of clothes. 1, maybe 2 changes of clothes, underwear, those sorts of things. So everybody needs to have simple change of clothes, nothing too dramatic. Think about the weather, but then again, it's kind of hard to judge when a disaster may happen, so you might want to find something that's in between. Not too hot, not too cold. Okay, that pretty much does it for the bags that I'd like you guys to have. What we're going to do with the staff later on is we're going to put some extra things in there like 2-way radios, possibly cell phones, something to where they can get in contact with the outside world if all the communication system is down in the house. In other words, if your phones are not working. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the actual community resources that are available. Believe it or not, right here in Dansville there are quite a few. So the American Red Cross, I don't know if you know, but the first chapter actually of the American Red Cross was founded right here at Claire Barton Street, which is not even a mile. So if something happens and you're in a disaster situation, American Red Cross is one of the first phone calls you should make. Of course, after being 911. 911 should always be your first phone call. After that, American Red Cross. Dansville has a hospital, Noyes Memorial Hospital. I'm sure you're aware of it. But what you probably don't know is that they have a disaster preparedness plan that includes the community. So if something happens in the community, Dansville Hospital has already set aside certain beds, rooms, medical supplies, food, water, those sorts of things. they already have it set up for you and you don't even realize that they're ready for you. Especially you guys, because of the medical histories you have. A lot of the other people, you know, walkie-talkie people who don't have as many medical concerns, they might be fine at a shelter that the Red Cross puts up, but it may be more beneficial for you guys to be at the hospital. So we've talked about American Red Cross, we've talked about Dansville Hospital, Noyes Hospital, 911 services, obviously, your first responders, cops, paramedics, things like that. Always call 911 first. If you're having trouble getting a hold of somebody, that's when those two-way radios are going to come in handy. Make sure that your staff is aware that you need them. Obviously, if there's a disaster, they're going to be aware, but get your two-way radios from them. Another thing that we need to talk about is, where should you go? Do you have an evacuation plan or route, or if you had to evacuate right this minute, where would you go? I know most of you are not going to be able to answer that question. So that's one thing that me and the staff have kind of talked about. If you leave this building and go straight out, when you go to the right, you know where that apartment building is right there? They have a big parking lot. So what we have decided to come up with is for you guys to get out, first of all, as quick as you can if there actually is an evacuation. And the staff will be aware, they'll know what's going on, so they'll probably be the ones directing you to leave. Make sure you grab your bags and meet everybody in the parking lot. If we all meet together, we'll know where everybody is, we can count, make sure everybody's accounted for, and make sure the building gets cleared completely. There are a lot of things that you guys can do to help each other. As a matter of fact, I need you to make sure that when you're leaving the building, we're going to do a buddy system. When the next exercise that we're going to do when we get finished with this video, I want you guys to actually sit down, we'll discuss it, see who the best fits are, and let's make a buddy system so that you guys can get together, make sure that you are together, and get out. I don't necessarily want you to wait around for your buddy, but I want you to be able to say, there's my buddy, let's get out of here. You know what I mean? Another thing that we should probably discuss is what resources are the hospitals and first responders and stuff going to be able to help you with. The American Red Cross, again, is wonderful. They will set up shelters, they set up housing, they will be able to have food, water, electricity if needed. These are the places that you're going to go to get your oxygen hooked up. They are prepared. They have disaster preparedness plans that are in communities. Everybody's kind of fits together. So the hospital is involved, American Red Cross is involved, the ambulance services are involved. So everybody kind of has a plan as to what they're going to do. Your part is just to let them know that you need their assistance. So the biggest thing to do is call 911. If your emergency response in the house is still active, you can call 911. You're going to be able to have to give them certain information, like where you are, who your name is, what your name is, where they need to come, your disaster plan, and what you guys are planning to do. So before you leave the house, you call them and say, this is my disaster plan, this is how many people we have here, and we're going to the parking lot. The staff is well aware of these disaster plans. We already kind of have some feelers out with the ambulance crews, just because a lot of you, as you already know, are in wheelchairs. You need to make sure that when you get out to the parking lot, somebody's going to be able to help you leave the premises if that's necessary. So we've talked to the fire department, and they've agreed to make sure that there's extra staff just set aside for our house, just this DDSO home, so that they can come out, get you guys, and get you to a safer place. So I don't want to say you're top priority by any means, but they definitely have set aside some extra staff to make sure that you guys are as prepared as possible. Again, one of the biggest things that I have to stress to you is to be prepared to begin with. You have to know that disasters may happen. They can happen anytime, whether without warning. So it's very important. Have your stuff together. Let's get those bags packed. I'm going to make sure to help you fill out information as far as your medical history, your list of your medications, and also put that in your bags as well, so that even if you can't talk maybe, they can look through your stuff and be able to figure out what's going on with you and make sure that you're taken care of properly. If you have any questions, obviously, please come to me. I'm going to be here for a while. Like I said, me and the staff are going to break up and kind of help you guys get your stuff together. Like, we bought bags for you, so all we've got to do is get your stuff together, get it in a bag, and let's get it in a safe place. once again, if you have questions, concerns, comments, call me. I'm going to leave my phone number after I go. I just want to make sure that you guys are as prepared as possible. There are resources out there, know where to go, and make sure that you're safe. So just to recap quickly, American Red Cross, Noyes Memorial Hospital, 911 are going to be your biggest supporters. Have your bag ready, get it packed, and let's make sure that we're ready. I want to see everybody do well when if something does happen. I'm going to have you take a little quiz again. We took it earlier to kind of see where you were, and now that we've talked, I want to give you another quiz and see if you can answer the questions correctly. Have a great day.